Hey yo, it's Lano and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today's episode is something a little bit different. And well, I've been struck with inspiration to build lately, and I figured if I'm going to start building, maybe I should show you guys the process that I usually use when building. That includes some of these fancy tools that I have, including World Edit and Axiom and a couple of other tools as well. So let's go on ahead and get into that. Alright, so the first thing that we need to figure out is exactly what it is you want to build, and we are here in my creative test world where you can see all of these different things that I've worked on since I started the channel, a lot of which are just shells of builds, and then a lot of which are fully fleshed out builds. Whether it is just the shell of a build or a fully fleshed out build, it had to have been inspired from something, or at least for me anyway. I am the kind of guy, I need something to kind of inspire me and my build. And pretty much all of this has been inspired by something, whether it was another YouTuber or Pinterest or anything else like that. That is going to be where you find a lot of your inspiration and maybe even some IRL places, you know? But a lot of my biggest inspirations for builds have come from watching other YouTubers, such as Flip, who inspired this Prismarine farm right here. And then this one I seen on Pinterest, and then this over here I believe was also a palette that I had sold from Flip. I can't exactly remember, it's been a while now, but you get the gist. So one of the tools that I recommend starting with is Pinterest or YouTube, and just kind of scrolling around, looking at other creators, looking at other builds, looking at other images, and figuring out exactly what it is that inspires you the most. Once you've found whatever inspires you, I recommend taking a screenshot of it or saving the image itself to whatever device you have, so this way you can use it as a reference image for later. But once you have that reference image, you should probably start deciding on what the color palette is going to be. Now you have to ask yourself, do you want to stick with a very similar color palette to whatever that reference image holds? Or do you want to use something completely different and you just want to use the style of the build itself? If you want to use a similar palette to that reference image, I actually have a tool that can help you choose the blocks that are the closest to that reference image. Now this tool is not perfect by any means, but it is a great start, and it actually can help with gradients as well. There should be a reference image on screen now, and longtime viewers might actually be able to recognize this image from a build battle I did at the very beginning of the channel. But this is going to be the same reference image that we just used for this part of the video. So over in Hublocks, you can see right here there is a color bar, and you can select this side over here, which is going to be the darker side, and you can take the color picker, and then you can select the darker part of the image. And then you can take this side over here, which will be the lighter part, and then you can use the color picker and select the lighter part. So you can see here that it's going between this dark brown to this yellowish color, and you can change the gradient chain length, and this is specifically for gradients. You don't have to use this for gradients. But when you hit generate, it will pop up a bunch of different colors that kind of match that color scheme. And again, this is not going to be perfect, but this is a good start. Now, if I want to just select one color in particular, and I don't necessarily want a gradient, I just want to figure out exactly what blocks might fit this color palette, then I will make both of these select the same color or around the same area, and then generate, and then it pops up this thing. Now, Hublocks suggests I use the Ochre Frog Lights. Obviously, I'm not going to use that for a build like this, but you can see that this color is pretty close. You can also see down here at the bottom where it says preset, you can change the preset into being colorful blocks, and it will change this from like the frog light to a quartz block, and then you can change the grayscale and overworld natural blocks and things like that. Again, the software isn't perfect, but in the event of you having something like the frog light pop up to be the bulk of your build, you can swap it around and see if you can find other options that are close to it. So the next bit that we're going to talk about are some of the tools that I've been using to actually build some of these structures. But before I get into that, I just want to stress really quickly how important it is to not rely on these tools all the time. You have to have some sort of human element in your builds, or at least in my opinion, you do. I think that's the most important thing in any of these builds, is to have some sort of human element in there, and using just nothing but tools kind of deprives the builds of that, I guess. It also kind of deprives you of, well, learning how to build, I guess. So just use them when you need them or to help speed up the process, but don't let them control every single build that you do. So with that out of the way, let's hop into the first tool. So the first tool we're going to look at today is a mod called Axiom. Now, Axiom is a really neat tool that has helped revolutionize building, for myself anyway, and I haven't been using it very long. Down there on the bottom right of the screen, down right beside the hotbar, you can see the 4 little arrows, and that is an indication that Axiom is installed. You can hold left alt and it'll pull up this screen here, and you can use this bar over here to adjust your flight speed. This little button here turns on no clip, which as I'm in creative, I leave this one just on all the time anyway. Then there's angel placement, which allows you to place blocks mid-air, and that is a really nice feature to have as well. And then there's a few other things like fast place, infinite reach, which changes how far you can place a block. So like you see right all the way back there, it's got that block highlighted. I can place blocks there and I don't have to be anywhere near it, but it's actually placing. Now I'm going to get rid of those because I don't want to mess up any of my builds, but that is a nice feature to have. And then down here, we've got a tinker tool. I haven't really messed with that too much. And then there are a few different things. There's like a replace mode, so I could use that, and I could, if I wanted to, change out some of the blocks back here just by simply right clicking it. Oh, you can see no place mode worked there, or no clip worked there. But using this, you can see that I can just simply replace blocks, which that is a pretty nice tool to have. And let me just get this situated. I gotta slow myself down real quick. I'm still getting used to this mod myself. So obviously I'm not gonna go too in depth with this, but if you want to see a more in-depth tutorial about this mod at some point, let me know and I will try to study up on it and get a tutorial out to you soon on that. But this has really helped me work with this. But this is just only the beginning of Axiom. You can also see where there are hotbars down here that you can cycle through and stuff like that. And there's just all sorts of different things, right? But that's not even it. I can hit the other hotkey, which I've changed. I don't remember what the default one was, but you can hit it and it will pull up this screen here. Now this screen, it's going to be a little disorienting at first, and then moving around is going to be a little weird as well, but you'll eventually get used to that. Over here on the left side of the screen, there are all these different tools such as Magic Select, Box Select, Freehand, Lasso, Ruler, Annotation, Gradient Painter. You get the idea. You can kind of cycle through there and figure out what you want to do. So for me personally, I tend to use the Shapes tool more than anything. Once you select this, you can change what shape you want to use, whether it's a cylinder, a pyramid, a cone, a sphere, or whatever. And then you can change its diameter and then make it hollow and everything like that. Metaball, I haven't really messed with that, so I'm not going to speak on that one. But you can select where you want to place this, and then it pulls up this little graphic right here. You can drag this up or down like this. You can move it left or right like this, and then back and forth that way. And then using the circular things, you can rotate it like that and everything else. And here in advanced, you can actually manually change what the degree of the rotation is. We're just going to reset it all back to 0 now, so it's back and even and flush with the ground. You can change the diameter of that sphere or cylinder or whatever it is that we're working with. So we're going to change this to cylinder here. Now I want this to be kind of tall, so we're going to set this height on up. Now this will make the height go down as well, so what I recommend is just dragging that on up to the surface of the grass or wherever it is that you're building, and then there you go. Over here on the right side, it shows the active block, which right now you can see is stone. You can select it and you can change it to be whatever it is you want it to be. If I wanted it to be a thing of cherry planks, we could do that, and then there it is. And then once you finally get the height that you want and the rotation and the shape and everything else, you can just hit paste copy, and then it puts it right there in the world, and there it is. Now you can see that I selected the hollow option, and then when you look inside of here, it is 100% hollow. Now this is a very, very useful tool, especially if you're like me and you build a lot of things that are circular and have these towers and everything. This has been a very big help indeed, but you can use that for various shapes, as I said, whether it's a cylinder, a cone, a pyramid, whatever. So let's say that you've already got your shape put in, but you want to change the material that it is made out of. So here we've got it made out of the cherry planks, and we want to change it back to stone. You can go up here to the Magic Select tool, and then you can right click that shape, and then you can simply change the active block here, and then you can drag it over that area that you've selected, and then it changes that whole thing there. And it is still completely hollow, and nothing else about it has changed, just the material block itself. So once you've got your shape put in, you can take a look at it and figure out what you want to do from there. Now, right now we've just got a solid cylinder of stone, and this is incredibly boring. There's nothing going on, it's untextured, it's undetailed, it's just really, really dull. So if we open Axiom again, we can go over here to the Gradient Painter, and you can see down here we've got different brushes we can select, and we can go through the sphere, the cube, the cylinder, all sorts of things, and you can change the radius of that as well. And as you look over here in the overworld where your mouse is, you can see just how big that is. And then over here under blocks, you can change what blocks you want to affect the gradient itself. And this is honestly a very, very handy tool to have, especially if you have a gradient palette in mind. So you can just go here and then you can change to pretty much any block that you want. And you can do that for anything here. So I mean, even if you wanted the gradient to completely contrast each other. So there's a stripped log there, and then let's say we've got, I don't know, warped planks here, and then diorite, and then we select this, and then we just do this. You can see all these different things here that are changing just as we select this. But we can make this look a lot neater and a lot cleaner just by simply changing these out for blocks that complement each other. I'm going to go ahead and do that really quickly, and then we'll take a look at the other options. All right, so I've gotten a really simple gradient over here selected now. And what we can do is we can go back to the Magic Select tool and we can select that shape. We can go back to the Gradient Painter, and then we can right click down here at the bottom, right click and hold at the top, and then just drag your mouse down. And when you do that, you can see that the gradient fills in right here. Now I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, Lane, that does not look great. And that also didn't select the entire build. We'll worry about that later. But this gradient, it's not very smooth. This honestly does not look fantastic. And that is fine. There are other options for this. So we can undo this, and then we can go to linear, and then we can go down here and we can repeat the process. And what that does is that kind of breaks it up just a little bit more. And what that does is it kind of merges it a little bit and makes it just a little bit cleaner. Makes it look a little bit more random, but it all fits together. It makes it look more like a gradient that you would expect to see on a larger build. And then we've got this last option over here, which is a word that I can't pronounce. So I'm just gonna select the option and then I'm gonna do this. And then you can see here that everything's placed just a little bit more sporadically. And it doesn't really look as clean, which could work in certain contexts. It depends on the style of build that you're going for. But this gradient tool has been a very big help, and I'm honestly happy to have had this because this has saved me a lot of time on some builds that I've been working on lately. Now that's basically all that I'm going to show off for Axiom right now, because that's pretty much all that my basic understanding of it has shown me so far. If you guys want to see more on it, let me know. I intend on learning more about that software going forward because, well, again, it has saved me a lot of time, and I'm sure I can spread the knowledge to you guys. So the next tool that we want to look at is going to be World Edit. Now, World Edit, a lot of you watching this probably already have a basic understanding of how it works, and I don't really have the greatest understanding of how it works either, but I can show you the basics and what I have used it for to get through some of these builds. You can control World Edit by using the wooden axe in the game. You can just grab one from your creative menu, and then you can start selecting different plots around your build, and it will select that area. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by showing you the copy command. So basically, you want to take one of the corners of the build on the lower part, and then you want to go all the way up here to the top of the build on the outside corner as well, and you want to select that as your second position. And then you can go to the front of the build, and then you can just type / copy, and then it copies it just like that. Now, the reason that I recommend that you copy it from the front of the build is because when you copy it, it copies from your relative position to the build itself. So if I'm standing right here and I type that / copy, whenever I get ready to paste it or rotate it or whatever else, it is going to go from this position. And that is extremely important because if I take this and then I decide to go over here and I fly up into the air and then I type / paste, you can see that it puts it right up here midair, and this isn't where I want it, right? So you have to be pretty particular about this. Now you can also type / undo, and then it gets rid of it, and then you can type / redo, and then it puts it back It just depends on what all you want. Now with World Edit, you can actually take a plot here and you can copy it and rotate it. So if I select this here and then I type / copy and then I walk all the way over here, I can get ready to rotate it and paste it. Now you're probably thinking, Lane, you're facing a different direction. It should paste facing that direction as well. No, it does not work that way. It's still going to face the exact same direction it was before. It's just all relative to where you're standing. So if I'm standing right here, it's going to just place it right here in that L shape that it was before. So what you want to do is you want to type / rotate, and then you can do it in degrees of like 90, 180, 270, 360, whatever. Not that you would need 360, that wouldn't really make much sense. But you can do this in these intervals of 90. And when you do that, you can just hit the enter button and then go back and type / paste. And then when you're done with that, you can see that it has indeed rotated. And I've used this command a lot, especially with some of these more symmetrical builds. I used it with this build, with that build, and with this build in particular. These bigger circular builds, that has really saved a lot of time on. So that's something to keep in mind if you're using World Edit and you were designing some big, large circles like this. Not even circles, I mean, really just big, large, symmetrical builds in general. World Edit also makes texturing very, very easy. I used World Edit to texture this entire build over here in a matter of seconds, and you can change the percentages of everything, and you can change just the overall texture amounts of everything, and it is so very convenient. Over here, I've already selected this cylinder, and down here, I can type / replace, and then let's say stone because, well, that entire cylinder is stone. And then let's say I want to change 50% of it out for, I don't know, let's say dirt. Then you'll leave a comma there, and then I'm going to put, I don't know, 25% of it being, I don't know, spruce planks, and then comma 25%, I don't know, let's say a gray wool. You can hit enter, and then it textures it all. Now this is incredibly ugly. I just threw random blocks in there, but you can see what I'm going for, right? You can / undo, and then you can even go in here and then you can change those percentages. So if I wanted there to be, I don't know, let's say 75% dirt, and then let's say 15% spruce, that equals 90. So then we can change this to 10% of gray wool, and then it changes the amounts there, and it's all completely random. And that is a very nice thing to have, especially when you are trying to texture quickly with large builds like this. It still looks pretty random and natural in my opinion, and it works very well. I can't recommend that feature enough, honestly. But that is also me getting ahead of myself, because you can simply just type / replace and then stone, and then you can change that entire thing out for just whatever you want to. So like, you don't have to do the percentages or anything. You can actually just put one thing in there and it changes that entire thing. And that is also a really nice thing. This has also been a very big time saver for myself. So to sum up what I have shown so far, basically World Edit and Axiom I just use to start the build process. I get the shapes put in, and then I do the detailing and texturing and rotating and copying and pasting and everything, and then I just go from there. I can take one of these cylinders and I can make something as big and impressive as this over here. And then when I have something, I can start manually putting in blocks like I did here on these roofs going all the way around, and like I did around these towers, and just everything else like that, right? You have to have the human element inside of your builds. You don't want your builds to be 100% tooled in. In my opinion, that takes the fun out of it, and it takes the creativity out of it. I mean, again, it's all subjective. That's just my opinion. And, you know, you might look at it a little differently than I do, but yeah, that's pretty much all that I use those tools for. Other than that, I do use Litematica to copy these, and this is not a very hard thing to do. I don't really use Litematica for much else. I just copy these and put these into my other worlds, so I have something to base my build off of. So you can install the mod Litematica, and then you can turn it on, and then you can use a stick to outline the area around the build that you want. And then from there, you can go to the menu, go to Area Editor, Save Schematic, and then I've already saved it, but you can save it in here, And then from here, you can go into, say, a different world, a different server, whatever. And then you can go down and just place it wherever you want to, just by going back to the menu, go to load schematics, go right here, and then load schematic. And then there it is. And now every now and again, you might get that bit of lag, especially if you've got big builds like this, but it doesn't stick around. But yeah, so it basically puts this in, and then using Litematica, you can also take a look at the material list for the specific build. So if you go into load schematics, click the build and go to material list, you can see exactly how many materials you need. And I mean down to the singular block. It tells you exactly what you're looking for. And that is honestly a very, very handy tool to have. You can also go in here and go to schematic placements. You can go to configure, and then you can rotate the builds around, you can mirror it and whatever, you can lock it so you can't accidentally move it. I have been prone to doing that a time or two. And then you can even just nudge it just simply by left clicking and right clicking on all of these little plus and minus buttons over here. And that's pretty much it. That's all that I use my Litematica for. And yeah, I think that's just about it. I just use a combination of those 4 tools to kind of come up with the beginnings of a build, and then I go in by hand and I start placing the rest of the blocks and doing the details. Even though this was created using all of these tools, I still came in by hand and placed 90% of these, all the roof, all of the trims, everything else, all of this area down here. I mean, all of that was still placed by hand. It was just simply designed by this, and all this did was speed up the process just a little bit. That's all that did. And this video is not meant as a how to build tutorial. This video is just simply to show you guys exactly my method for getting started with builds and everything like that, especially these larger ones like this. Axiom and World Edit, they save so much time and so much headache in doing this. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to show you guys my thought process on getting started and how I go about doing all of this. If you guys want to see any in-depth tutorials on how to use Axiom, Litematica, or World Edit, leave me a comment down below and let me know. I really want to delve more into those 3 things in particular and start learning more about them, especially being World Edit and Axiom, because I mean, those are just going to be huge time savers going forward. And I honestly feel like you guys, the viewers, could probably benefit from it as well. If it's something that you guys are interested in, let me know. I would love to make more videos on this sort of thing. And yeah, I think that just about does it. My name is Lane. I will catch you guys in the next one.